Hi, um, my name is Maid Melissa, and this seems to be my second video. And this is not something I usually want to cover on my channel. I'm an ecologist by trade, and we're not talking about ecology today. We might go into some science, but I'm also a trans person, and I got into an interesting conversation with someone a few days ago about how trans people like myself have been created by Jeffrey Epstein, or like he's behind it somehow. And at the time, I thought ridiculous. I knew there'd been a dump of Epstein Files. I'd seen and heard some of the horrible stuff, but turns out there is stuff related to trans people in the Epstein Files. A lot of it is just news articles, which you know, good, bad, really has no context in this. Most of them are like add-ons from FBI briefings, but there is some stuff, and this is coming out as I'm not editing this. I want the anger and despair and annoyance, and I don't know however many other emotions I'm gonna outburst in this to come out in this recording. Like I want this to be real because yeah, Jeffrey Epstein did have something to say about trans people, and it wasn't good. And there's a few other people. I am focusing on the Robert Trivers stuff because that's someone I know. Well, I don't know, but I as a scientist, as an ecologist, I have read some of his work. I used to have one of his books. Luckily, I lost it, which it'd definitely be going in the bin if I had any of that material. Just like Dawkins, just like a whole bunch of other people, to be honest. Um, I am going to say one more thing before I get into the meat and potatoes of this. Um, uh, this is not my usual content. Um, Hopefully, I'll do another video soon. It will be edited. It will be scripted. It won't be this hot mess. I also am on a podcast semi-regularly, the Almost Sunday podcast, and I will definitely be happier and less annoyed in those. So, yeah, if you want to see a happier Melissa, go check out that. And I am going to give a trigger warning. This is going to be transphobia, transmisia. There's probably going to be some misgendering. There's going to be talk about sexual assault and pedophilia because it's Jeffrey Epstein. And I have included links to the files which are on the Department of Justice in some of the slides. I'm going to say if you go in there, um, it's not going to take you long to find something that's disgusting. Uh, you know, it's Jeffrey Epstein. Again, it's Jeffrey Epstein. What the fuck do I really have to say more than that? We will head on because you don't want to look at this blank screen. Um, right, we come to the first one, and this is interesting because when I saw this, I almost skipped over it. I was like, okay, this is just a talk. And I literally found the last one first and this one last. And I spent ages trying to figure out who had done a talk for an evening on evolutionary biology, an overview concerning feminism, transgender, homosexuality, and honor killings. And I thought it was weird. I thought it was weird that they sort of like blocked out the title. I was like, oh, who it was from, like, because we can see Jeffrey Epstein is given us evil, um, and I was like, what? who is this? And I eventually I put it in, and I spent a good couple of hours going around the houses trying to figure out, who'd done this. I checked the Imperial College's website for that time. I checked, you know, JSTOR and PubMed and a whole bunch of other things. Could not find this talk. I looked on YouTube. Sometimes talks are recorded at universities and put on YouTube. Nothing. And I eventually found a link which was almost the same. It was an overview covering feminism, homosexuality, and honor killings. No transgender. And it's by Robert Trivers. And there's like, at that point, I knew I'd seen Robert Trivers' name before. I think I need to give some overview of who Robert Trivers is. He is an American evolutionary biologist. He worked for Rutgers University until his suspension. He wouldn't teach an assigned course on human aggression. Um, and yeah, he was getting funds from Jeffrey Epstein. It's about 40,000, I think, that we know of that he got from Epstein. And he mentioned his support even after Epstein's conviction, all the way up until he died, minimizing every crime Epstein did, which is dodgy in itself, but not particularly incriminating. Like, although on the record from me, like this, it feels bad, and like this is one of the things he said. This was in Reuters. Reuters, that's what it is. It's not Rutgers, it's Reuters. Thank God. But this is a Rivers quote regarding Epstein's assault on underage children. By the time they're 14 or 15, they're like grown women were 60 years ago, so I don't see the acts as so heinous. And he, I mean, that in itself, like, fucking hell. Um, the fact that he said the rape of 14 and 15-year-olds is not so heinous because it's like how we did things 60 years ago. We were doing a lot of things 60 years ago that we don't do today. That doesn't make it good. It doesn't make it right. It makes it sick and disgusting. And the fact that he said, it's not so bad. And granted, he is in his 80s, so that was the status quo when he was younger. No, no, it's bad. It's fucking horrible. And we haven't even gone into what this thing is because we've gone down a tangent. We've gone down a rabbit hole. This is going to happen on every one of the three slides I've got coming up. We'll go into a rabbit hole on something. Um, because like this talk is being held in London. We get the logistics of how much money people are paying, how much money Trivers is going to get, and how much money the corporation he's working for will get. And he says to Epstein, just as you outlined, this will create an immediate internet wave, especially here in the UK, with coverage in all the major newspapers and so on. And yeah, that because at the time, this is during the transgender tipping point. It's also roughly about the time of what's it called, Gamergate. So feminism, that's going to be a hot button topic. Transgender people, hot button topic. Honor killings are always going to be a hot button topic because you're fucking killing someone, and he mentions it later as well. To be fair, on slide 2 of homosexuality, and it's like this feels like it's sort of there to inflame something. Like Epstein apparently said, this is going to cause ripples in the pond, and they chucked the stone in anyway. And we know that from the files, we know that Epstein has connections to places like 4chan, with Steve Bannon, who is one of the people behind Gamersgate and who aided Trump in his first term for making things worse for a lot of people. And part of me feels that this might, there might have been some, might, there probably is some Epstein connection between the anti-trans movement, especially here in the UK. Um, I don't know. At this point, the frustration is kicking in already, and we're not even at the worst one of the lot. Like, they get worse. Like, this is banal. This is somewhat harmless. This is just setting things up. But we will go on to the next one because part of me feels that this one is even worse. And you'll notice I've had to squash it onto 2 pages. Um, but you can see this little 94 here. This is the same 94 that's up here. Um, yeah, this is the same talk. This is the same honor killing, feminism, homosexuality, transgender talk. I believe this is for maybe something like TED Talks. I don't know. I know he potentially did talk on that. Um, but if we look in the first big paragraph, where he said, "I'm basically 45 years ago and thought it was natural to be attracted to anything that appeared to contradict fundamental logic. Male humanist homosexuality was my choice then. How could, how on earth could natural selection raise this clearly counterproductive tendencies to 3% recurrent mutation alone to at least get up to 1 in 10? Yeah, he's essentially saying, how could nature uh, bring homosexuality out in animals? And we know that homosexuality is a lot more common in the animal kingdom than we thought. And I can give you several reasons, Trivers. Um, First of all, it improves bonding between animals. For example, male lions are more relaxed during male and male sex than they are male and female sex. Um, Also, potentially, if you're in a social group, and it tends to be a lot more common in social animals, you have parents which don't have children that you can then send out to do some of the more dangerous stuff your group has to do. I don't want to say disposable, but if you have non-breeding individuals, then you also have someone to drop your kids off with in a tribe or a clan where when you want to not have them around. Um, and also you have potentially couples that can adopt, children, offspring, kids who have lost their parents. Like we see it a lot in penguins. Um, you'll have chicks that get lost, or their parents die, or they get kicked off early, and you will have same-sex couples adopt these penguin chicks, or sometimes even steal them. It's not perfect. But yeah, there's some reasons, Trevor, of why homosexuality could have evolved. But he goes on. If as the years rolled by, three things stood out. Childhood sex inappropriate behaviors was the best predictor. Playing dolls instead of traps, pink color instead of blue. The older brother effect, 30% higher chance of each older brother, and discovery of a gene or genes on the X chromosome that makes you person predisposed for homosexuality. Right. So first of all, I'm also going to say, like, this is terrible writing. There is no capitalism here. Punctuation is scarce. Ugh. It, it's bad formatting. Like, even in my most informal emails, I don't. I'm being petty at that point. But if we look at these three things, childhood sexually inappropriate behavior, playing the wrong toys, liking the wrong color, well, that's because we gender toys. But just because a male child plays with a Barbie or a Cindy or likes the color pink does not make them gay, it does not make them trans. It could just be that that kid wants to play with that. Like, we have, especially for trans um, gender identification, a lot of stuff from the WPATH. You know, it's not simply just playing with the wrong toys. Also, go back 100 years, 120 years, and then that male child looking at pink, liking a pink color would have been considered manly. Gender swims around and changes all the time. Then we have the older brother effect that is debunked now. It was a statistical error. I'm going to say it's a statistical error, even though it probably wasn't. It was probably deliberately chosen um, by the original author. The original author was Ray Blanchard, who was part of the Human Biodiversity Project, which are just horrible. They're a far right think tank. But yeah, people have done a meta study of this, and they found out, hey, no, no, this isn't right. This is the only way you get this is doing some messing around with statistics. So it's been thrown out. It's pseudoscience. It's debunked. And it was debunked by 2019 when Trivers is writing this. So again, you're a biologist. You are a biologist. You should know this, or even if you don't know it, you should be able to go and check. Because here's the thing: I looked at that as like I've heard of the older brother effect. I am going to read up on this before I say anything about it. It's like, oh, hey, it was discredited in 2017 by a meta study. Brilliant. I'm talking about genes, and I think they mention that it come because it's on the X gene. It comes from the mother side of the family. That is not necessarily true. That is not how genes work. Like, yes, you get your annex gene if you're male from your mother's side, but there is potential, for it to, I don't know, drop down. I don't know. Like, it's the SLY gene. I feel I feel that's looking to support the older brother effect, and it's being sort of manipulated. I'm pretty sure. Hang on, let me just check. Sorry, this is going to be a brief moment while I just check something. SLY gene. Yeah, the SLY gene is also located on the Y gene. So no, not necessarily. I don't know. Like, honestly, I'm not 100% sure. Well, I didn't plan to wade into this. I planned to, stick to the older brother effect and the thing before it. I'm just going to head on. Elevated frequency of male homosexuality is only found on the maternal side. No, no, I'm pretty sure that's what I was going to get at, not the genes. Your maternal uncle, your mother's male cousin. Furthermore, later work showed that maternal female relatives of male homosexuals showed higher RS Then female relatives on the paternal side. RS. You haven't mentioned what RS is, so I don't know what to say about that. But no, like that's that's not going to be true on everyone. I don't understand why he thinks that. That's not how people work. That's not how work biology works. Um, I'm just looking at my keyboard for a minute because he says found on the maternal side, your maternal uncle, but there's an equal sign. So I'm just trying to figure out how there's a gulf there in keys, even on a phone. I don't know. This is I I don't understand. Like this is bad science. This is bad writing. I don't know. This feels off to me. I don't know. I just so knowledgeable. David Hall at Harvard researched the most novel genetic argument for the older brother effect. I I don't think that's how that works, honestly. But he continues. So when oh no, it's David Haig. Okay, David Haig, and this is the problem. When you look at this and they haven't typed it out well, I okay, maybe paranoia here. There's so many equal signs where words should be. Part of me wonders if there isn't like some kind of meaning to all these equal signs everywhere because um they mention childhood sex and appropriate behavior, but there's no C. It's an equal. How equal sign? How are you? How are you making that mistake? But I do wonder. I do wonder if this is in other Epstein files, like weird punctuation, like beyond what would normally be like a mess up. And part of me also wonders if he just copied that. What would be? No, no, because at the top it says not quite sure why you thought honor killing would be detrimental, but what is this? I don't know. Something about this gives me the ick beyond the bad science. And maybe this is just my paranoia. Um, this will be fun. But yeah, he continues and says, so I came across honor killings. I thought this is even worse than male homosexuality. Well, you're right about that. Um, honor killings are worse than being gay. Hell of a lot worse. There's nothing wrong with being gay. How on earth does it benefit you to slit the throat of your 17-year-old daughter who you've invested 17 plus years of work raising, maybe even with a little love, because you find lipstick in her purse, phone numbers on her cell that you do not recognize, and who is also physically beautiful? Ooh, oh no, that's ugh, that's a bit ick. Um, but he continues, I have spent 18 months with David Haig solving this problem, including the factor of inheritance you stressed a while ago. Honor killing is not biological. I'm sorry, it's not a genetic thing. I have also mastered the literature of both data and social cultural studies solutions, and they are nowhere near the truth. Would writing up the best version of the truth be detrimental? Might subject me to some abuse, but could not care less. It's a ghastly problem. Someone has to solve this problem in theory. It may as well be me. So I feel like he's saying that homosexuality, uh, transgender people, feminism, and honor killings, all genetic and all a problem. And this is the thing. I have also mastered the literature of both data and social cultural solutions, and they were nowhere near the truth. I wonder what Robert Trivers' truth is. I mean, he's never going to watch this. I doubt his lawyers are going to watch this. I don't know. I don't think we're going to get an answer. Granted, I failed to mention there are 3 million Epstein files released. There is about another 3 million not released. Um, so who the fuck knows what's in the other half? I have a horrible feeling, like as bad as these ones were, that the Department of Justice selected these ones because they were the better ones. There's a few that are just I don't know. There was one that was someone asking questions like of Epstein. What should my daughter do? Well, I'm assuming their child do their science project on, and Epstein's like, oh yeah, it's trans people or colonizing Mars or self-driving cars, genetic engineering, living past 120 years of age. And it's like, okay, like I don't understand why. I mean, it's good that was released, but like it says nothing except Epstein talked to this person. And granted, this person pops up a lot, and um, they don't have an email address that has a name in, so who the hell knows who that is? Although some of the things they mentioned make me think because I don't know. I'm not gonna like. I've already looked at this equal sign thing, and I'm going too close to conspiracy. So no. Trivers continues. Yes, I agree. It's time to write up my thoughts on transsexuality. I don't think they would take long. We shall see. And again, this is oh god, what is that equal sign? But we will see. Okay, here's my cell number, and they've removed the cell number. Good, well done. It's a shame you couldn't remove the victims' names from every one of these files. Hey, you blocked a number. Hey, well done, Department of Justice. You seem like you're in New York. I'll be in the city on Monday, and I'll call you on your number. I have not heard from you in the If I have not heard from you in the meantime. And Epstein wrote back, I can call you today if you like. My recollection is that we sat together. I thought that you might want to focus on transgender biology. People would be interested, and I would fund. So Epstein I mean, that money is probably still out there, some of it. Um, Funding research into transgender biology, and there's a few other things. I've got a feeling, I mean, we know what Robert Trevis's thoughts on transgender people are because it's on the third slide. It's the worst one of the lot. The other stuff is about uh, the public interest where the genetics of sexual and transgender would be helpful. I'm always of the view that it should do no harm, and said it would. And said I wouldn't give you drugs if you asked because it was bad for you. Giving you money for subjects that would be, in my strong view, detrimental to your future. Okay, that feels a bit weird as well. I just noticed that. So it seems Epstein for honor killings, mentioning honor killings would be detrimental. Who knows why? I mean, technically, we're talking about homosexuality and transgender issues. Um, they don't go hand in hand with honor killing. He also says, wasn't he? he says that he should do no harm. Well, too late for that. And wouldn't give you drugs if you asked because it was bad for you. Giving you money for subjects, that being my strong route, creates a problem. You said you would get back to me, and then told me that chap, I don't know who that is, but offered you work. In my views, you were telling me that others would support your honor killing, etc. You then asked about the markets, and I said, sit tight, we can talk anytime. It sounds like Rivers was asking for either narcotics or test subjects. I don't know, it's so weird. Epstein, and I've read a few others, I'm just gonna make a drink. It seems like Epstein's writing is just terrible. As bad as the person himself. No, actually, not as bad because this is he he was just fucking. He's a monster. He was a monster. He is a monster. I mean, his legacy lives on. Like we're still feeling that, and his co-conspirators are still running around. Most of them still free. I don't know. The fact that he says about subjects makes you think test subjects, and if that is the case, that's fucking horrible. Um, I did check Robert Travis's bio. No mention of drug problems. So maybe this is medical drugs they're talking about. In which case, geez, could they be doing human testing? Like, oh my fucking god! If that, oh my, I'm sorry. That sounds like human testing. And actually, come to think about it, let's just go on to the third one because this is where you find out what Robert Trivers thinks about trans people. Uh, sorry, give me 10 seconds. Um, this is the last one was from March in 2019. This is from December 17, 2018. Um, he says it's very simple. I will compare male to female with female to male. With greater molecular control over development, we are increasingly capable of producing novel phenotypes, more feminine men by blocking testosterone receptors or castration. At the same time increasing estrogen production. One blocks male's features, the second one encourages female features. So this, yeah, I mean, that's not wrong. That's how HRT works. You get a blocker, you get estrogen, um, and you know you gain more feminine features. That's how it happens, and the reverse is true. Except trans men do not need a blocker because testosterone is the more aggressive of the hormones. Also, granted, he's also said, hey, more feminine men. He's talking about trans women, so right off the bat, we are misgendering. More masculine women, heavy testosterone dosage, incredible external effects, heavily bearded men. You would never guess they had a female bone in their body. More misgendering. And I apologize to my trans siblings. Like, I am quoting what Travis is sending to Epstein. I don't know. It's been a long day. I've been thinking about this for a couple of days. This is the email I found first. This is the one that I woke up at, I think, 4 in the morning a couple of days ago, thinking, like, oh my god, this is horrible. This is what they thought of us. Because so far, misgendering aside, it's been pretty accurate. But we get to the next bit. First kind, M to F, is 4 times more frequent. F to M, that's not true. It's about 1 to 1. The first is attractive. He's a woman with a cock. Oh, look, misgendering again. So that is your fantasy to suck a man's dick. Otherwise, you're completely heterosexual. It would be much nicer if the rest of the organism is female, and you get the best of both worlds. Organism, not person, organism. Like, not even animal. We are just some base biological thing um, for them to fucking stick their dicks into, essentially. Like, Trivers, and I guess Epstein think of us as sex toys, nothing more. But I have a theory. I will get to that at the end of this. It's going to be upsetting, but we'll continue. So many transsexual women are very attractive and easily make money, which in turn their cert promotes their prostitution, so they have to pay hefty fines for injections every week. But they are sexually happy. Once you have reached manhood, even castration does not prevent the sensation of orgasm. I said they put organism because fuck it. Like he was typing with one hand, probably. And I don't care that I am insulting him because this is just upsetting. This is vulgar, and it gets worse. Like as we go down, it gets worse. Contrast the poor F to M versions. They are unhappy and lonely. That's not true. Most of the trans men I know are very happy. They're very awesome people. They're men with numpums, the worst of both worlds. Oh, so we get some misogyny as well. And also mumpums. I feel this is going to be either. Yeah, okay. So, something we need to know about Trivers. He is an American, but he married 2 women in Jamaica, not at the same time. Um, he lived there for like 13 years, I think. And in the Jamaican patois, I think it is. Pum pum is a term used to denote female anatomy. So, you're a scientist, man. You can't even use the scientific word for it. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm sorry to anyone listening who finds that offensive. Um, be an adult about this. Like, oh my. Well, I guess you are being a little bit of an adult. No, you're being a teenage boy. You have fucking teenage boy obsessions. I apologize to any teenage boys out there. Like, you are almost better, certainly better than this. And we continue. If you like smelly, masculine men, you want the hard cock that comes with the show. You do not want one of nature's more complex and variable structures, the pum pum. That is an acquired taste and not with a man. And okay, you're fucking an academic. Like, first of all, and I've been pointing this out to him and Epstein, their correspondence. There are spelling mistakes everywhere. There's no capitalization. Punctuation is missing. It makes it difficult to read from a logistic sense, as well as difficult to read from a morality sense. There are hundreds of female trans videos and websites. I have never seen a male one. I mean, yes, we know what you were watching when you were at the. By the way, we are now pushing the intervention earlier, so you notice your 3-year-old has trans tendencies. transgendered he mentioned earlier, which aren't transgenders. So now you intervene with hormones. I'd be frightened, but who knows? That sounds like he is asking Epstein, would you be okay with me, doing this? And I think that might be what Epstein was responding to in the last one about test subjects or subjects and drugs. But this is the one, this is the most disturbing thing of these ones. Um, and this is the one the anti-trans crowd will jump on. It's like, oh, see, Epstein and Trivers and all these other people were looking to trans kids like 3 years old. And the answer is they might have been, the reputable doctors, the trans community. We would not be giving hormones to anyone at that age. You don't need hormones at that age. That's forcing them through a puberty at 3 years old. A child would not survive. Like, there's a reason we give puberty blockers to kids with precocious puberty, so they don't, overstress their bodies when they're going through puberty early. This is just disgusting, and we come to it again. There's a saying that goes around when it comes to conservatives, and they're not really conservatives anymore; they're aggressives, if anything. Every accusation is a confession. They blame us for what they want to do. You see it over and over again. Like, and here's the thing. I think that Jeffrey Epstein and his sinister cabal well, we know they loved women. They, we know they loved women. Well, they loved having sex with women. Um, because, there's hundreds of people, hundreds of victims who are raped by these men. Um, they rape children. There is some really disturbing stuff about children in these files, which I would recommend that if you want to go looking for that, make sure you have a strong stomach and a bucket nearby. Because you might need one. Like I've seen some horrible stuff in my life, but I wasn't quite prepared for what I found in these files. I don't think anyone was. And it makes it all the more bizarre that people named in here are being protected. The abusers. I've got a feeling because a lot of this stuff is coming out 2016 to 2018, right where the transgender tipping point is. And I've got the feeling that as soon as trans people came out of the shadows, they're like, hey, gay people got, equal marriage rights. Granted, they haven't got equal rights. Like, there's still discrimination going on. We want our time to get our rights, at least our basic ones that we don't have. Discrimination, protection against conversion therapy, the ability to use a fucking bathroom. And these pedophilic elites saw that and they're like, oh shit, if they come out, if our fetish starts being a person, starts, getting the right, stops being, having to rely on us paying them for their medication. Ooh, like they needed trans people in the shadows to continue doing what they're doing. Because as soon as something that you're doing like this comes out into the open, the sooner you're going to be discovered. Your sick fucking little pervert world that you built on Little St. James Island. All these fucking perverts and pedophiles like Bill Gates and Donald Trump and Bill Clinton, um, and all the others, and like Elon Musk begging like a little puppy dog to be invited, and ugh, ugh, ugh. It is disgusting. Um, and knowing what we know now, I feel I feel angry. It was bad enough. It's still terrible what they were doing, but now to know that we live in a world that's effectively ruled by pedophiles is it's abominable. It is fucking disgusting, and see people still defending it. Uh, I'm sorry, guys. I've done what I had to do. I got as far as I wanted to do. I am getting annoyed. I'm getting frustrated. I am getting ready to do some yelling, and I share a wall with my neighbors, and they are not gonna appreciate me yelling. I hope my next video is a lot better. It's a lot better than this. You know, I really do. But yeah, I would say like, comment, subscribe. Honestly, if this is my video you're watching, wait for another one to come before you make pass judgment on me. Because I don't want to ever have to do this again. And I hope you have a decent enough day wherever you are. You've had to watch this, so it's going to be inherently worse. But bye.